Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into a really compelling personal account. It's titled, My Mother-in-Law Said Only Those with Noble Lineage Can Stay in This House. I Remain Calm and Lime.
Mm.
And it really plunges us into this intense family dynamic,
Mm.
a clash driven by these deeply held beliefs about status and, well,
Sure.
belonging.
Right. And this narrative, it's a powerful lens, I think, for looking at those in-group and out-group dynamics, especially within families. The tension really comes from Eleanor's belief, her conviction, that noble lineage is everything.
Everything, yeah.
Which means Sophia, her new daughter-in-law, is immediately positioned as an outsider in her own new home, essentially.
Exactly. So our mission here in this deep dive, it's really to get under the skin of this story. We
Yeah.
want to understand the power plays, Sophia's strategies, and what this whole conflict ultimately does to her sense of self.
Yeah, looking at themes of belonging, identity, self-preservation, really.
Definitely. So let's set the scene. Sophia marries Lucas, moves into his family's, grand ancestral home, and his mother, Eleanor, is just steeped in this ancestral pride.
And you feel it right away, don't you? That obsession with lineage, it creates this instant chill towards Sophia.
It really does. And Eleanor, she doesn't just think about the house as property.
No, it's symbolic. It's this tangible link to a social hierarchy she believes in. So by saying only noble lineage belongs there, she's drawing a line in the sand
A very clear line,
and putting Sophia firmly on the other side.
which becomes painfully obvious during what should have been just a normal lunch. Lucas is apparently glued to his phone,
Oblivious.
totally oblivious. And Eleanor turns to Sophia and says, quite pointedly, only those with noble lineage can truly understand the value of what it represents. People like you. But you don't quite fit in here, do you?
Wow. I mean, the directness is startling, even though it's wrapped in this, veneer of politeness. It's a clear assertion of social superiority. And Lucas's unawareness just makes Sophia seem even more vulnerable in that moment.
But Sophia's reaction is kind of amazing. Internally, she must be reeling, right?
Mm.
But outwardly, calm, polite smile.
Yeah.
She just says, I understand, Eleanor, and I appreciate you sharing your thoughts. Remarkable composure.
It really is that restraint.
Mhm.
It suggests she immediately grasps the dynamic she's up against. She doesn't react emotionally. She maintains control. It's almost strategic, you know?
A sign of resilience, maybe, or just knowing she has to play a certain game here,
Could be both, but it sets the stage for what comes next.
which is, in the days following, Eleanor keeps it up.
Mhm.
It's more subtle, maybe, but relentless. These reminders that Sophia doesn't belong.
Yeah, the story mentions critical glances, unspoken judgments.
Exactly.
Eh.
All those nonverbal things that just wear you down, undermining her confidence bit by bit.
Well, those are often called microaggressions, right? These subtle but constant negative interactions. They create this feeling of always being judged, always unwelcome.
Mhm.
And over time, that really erodes your sense of self-worth. Eleanor is basically creating this environment where Sophia feels like she's always got her guard up.
And what makes it worse, almost heartbreakingly so, is Lucas. Sophia tried to talk to him, share her unease.
And he just dismisses it.
Yeah. Oh, she's just old-fashioned, or
Yeah.
she means well. Just completely minimizing what Sophia is actually experiencing.
That's tough, because his dismissal, even if he thinks he's being reassuring, it just invalidates her feeling.
Totally.
It leaves her feeling even more isolated. She has to deal with this hostile environment, basically alone, without his real support. That puts a huge strain on their relationship, you'd imagine.
Oh, absolutely. And then the tension, it ramps up. There's this direct confrontation in the kitchen.
Right.
Eleanor basically asks Sophia if she plans to stay forever, hammering home that this house is for people who uphold the family name, the legacy.
So the subtlety is gone now.
Pretty much. It's a direct challenge to Sophia's right to even be there.
Yeah.
Linking the house to legacy. It's maximum pressure time.
But Sophia doesn't just crumble. How does she respond again?
She actually stands her ground. She acknowledges, the importance of family, tradition showing she gets Eleanor's values, but then she says something like, a house becomes a home because of the people in it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and that she's committed to building that. It's a really strong assertion of her own agency.
That's a key moment. She's reframing belonging, shifting it from just inherited status to actively creating a home. That directly challenges Eleanor's whole worldview.
You'd think that might give Eleanor a pause, but
No,
no,
not likely.
knowing her character so far.
Nope. What comes next are these, the narrative calls them tests.
Ah, yes, the tests.
First up, the Rose Garden incident. Eleanor gives super specific instructions about pruning some yellow roses.
And Sophia does it differently.
Well, Eleanor certainly thinks so. She criticizes Sophia's technique, but Sophia quietly pushes back, saying something like, I'll do it the way I think is best. Okay, so that little incident, the roses, it's symbolic, isn't it? It's about Eleanor needing control, scrutinizing every little thing Sophia does.
Yeah, like she's incompetent even at basic things.
Exactly, reinforcing her own authority. And Sophia's quiet defiance, that's interesting too. A small resistance, but it's there.
Then comes the charity event invitation.
The stakes get higher.
Definitely. Eleanor checks Sophia's outfit, makes it clear this is a test. Can Sophia handle high society? Can she represent the family properly?
So now it's public. Eleanor is not just judging her privately, she's showcasing her almost. Seeking validation from her social circle, maybe, even if it's conditional acceptance.
And the event itself sounds stressful. Subtle judgments from other guests. And then Eleanor gives this backhanded compliment at dinner about Sophia holding her own despite her unconventional background.
Ouch, classic passive aggression. Faint praise, but really just reinforcing that outsider label. Maintaining the hierarchy.
And the night ends with Eleanor delivering this chilling warning.
Oh, yeah. What was it again?
Something like, don't get too comfortable, Sophia. This is just the beginning. You'll need to prove yourself every day, and I'll be watching.
Wow. No ambiguity there. Just constant pressure, constant scrutiny. It basically guarantees Sophia will live in a state of anxiety.
Absolutely. And it makes any potential acceptance feel totally conditional. It's an evaluation, not a relationship.
Which, unsurprisingly, leads to Sophia feeling more and more isolated. Lucas tries to reassure her, apparently, but it's just not enough.
He just doesn't get it.
Right. And that lack of understanding from your partner in these situations, it just amplifies the feeling of being completely alone. It creates this huge emotional distance.
The story then moves to another gathering, this one more intimate, at some secluded family estate.
Sounds exclusive.
Very. Even before they get there, Eleanor's reminding Sophia about representing the family. And the place itself, the sheer grandeur, just makes Sophia feel even more like she doesn't belong.
And I bet Eleanor's friends were there, adding to the pressure.
Oh yeah. Probing questions about her background, her family. It's like another layer of judgment.
More social control.
Then there's this really awkward moment where Eleanor introduces Sophia to someone named Sarah.
And Sarah says something cutting.
Yeah, a veiled insult about Sophia's family. But again, Sophia handles it well, polite but firm, doesn't let it slide but doesn't cause a scene.
She's getting good at navigating these situations, isn't she? Shows resilience, social intelligence, but it must be exhausting.
Totally exhausting. Later, she's on a balcony trying to get a moment's peace, talking to Lucas.
Who still doesn't see it.
Exactly. He's well-meaning, maybe, but clueless. The conversation just highlights this massive gap between what she's going through and what he perceives.
That disconnect is really sad. It shows a breakdown in communication, his failure to empathize with her struggle.
Then Eleanor pulls another move, a private luncheon with her inner circle.
Ah, the inner sanctum.
Right. And she introduces Sophia again, emphasizing the unconventional background, but with this tone of, like, surprised admiration that Sophia's coping.
Condescending admiration.
Totally. And then comes the direct question. Tell us about your parents, dear, their family business. A clear setup to expose her supposed lack of pedigree.
So Eleanor's using her friends now as a sort of interrogation squad, framing it all to highlight Lineage, looking for weak spots.
But Sophia deflects again. She talks about the value of hard work rather than getting drawn into comparisons of status.
Smart move. It's her asserting her own values, her own merits, directly countering Eleanor's obsession with bloodlines, refusing to be defined just by her background.
Okay, so the next escalation involves Eleanor arranging a meeting with a man named Gregory.
Gregory, right. And Eleanor frames this as crucial, doesn't she?
Yeah, she says it's to solidify your place in this family, making it crystal clear Gregory's approval is non-negotiable. Sophia understandably feels immense anxiety, like she's being pushed into a mold.
So Gregory is positioned as the ultimate gatekeeper. It moves beyond just social games to a formal judgment. Eleanor's language really underlines how conditional Sophia's belonging is.
And Eleanor's losing patience. She tells Sophia flat out, Gregory decides if you truly belong. Imagine the pressure.
Intense.
And Gregory himself sounds intimidating. Authoritative presence subjects Sophia to this intense scrutiny.
And echoes Eleanor's views.
Completely. Dismisses her background, says hard work isn't enough. He actually says Sophia needs to be molded, shaped, and tested.
Molded and shaped. Wow.
and she has to prove she'll do whatever it takes. And Sophia, driven by this, deep need to belong, she agrees.
That's a really pivotal and quite disturbing moment. Gregory's demands show how transactional and, frankly, dehumanizing this whole process is. It's not about Sophia, it's about her willingness to submit.
Yeah.
And her agreeing out of that desperation to belong just highlights how much pressure can make people compromise themselves.
So after meeting Gregory, the atmosphere in the house becomes almost unbearable.
I can imagine. The stakes are even higher now.
Yeah, Eleanor's constantly reminding her what's on the line. It sounds suffocating.
Yeah.
And Lucas,
Still oblivious.
still seemingly unaware of just how bad things are for Sophia, which just isolates her more.
That lack of support is just brutal. It underscores this absence of real connection in the marriage, doesn't it?
It really does. Then comes another demand from Eleanor.
Yeah.
Attend another charity gala.
Oh, not again.
Yep. This time, the goal is explicit. Meet key people who can secure her future in the family. She's to be strategically positioned, evaluated.
It's all performance, isn't it? She's like a project Eleanor is showing off to boost the family's social standing. Her authenticity is just completely erased in this process.
And despite Eleanor trying to, present her well, Sophia feels like a total fraud at this gala, an imposter.
Mm-hmm.
And it's here, during this event, that she has this huge, painful realization.
What's that?
That doesn't matter what she does. True belonging in this family. It's impossible. It's unattainable for her.
Ah, that's the turning point, isn't it? The moment she realizes the game is rigged. Acceptance is based on status, not on her. That must be both devastating and maybe liberating.
Maybe. The narrative says she feels utterly drained, like she's finally mastered this game she never even wanted to play.
That exhaustion makes perfect sense. It's the psychological toll of constantly trying to be someone you're not, for an approval that's always conditional.
And the internal conflict is huge. She realizes she's lost herself in this whole process.
That's the real cost, isn't it? Losing touch with your own identity in the pursuit of external validation.
Then comes the final straw. She overhears a conversation at another family dinner.
Oh no, what does she hear?
Her own shortcomings being openly discussed. Just confirmation that she's still the outsider, still being judged behind her back.
That's brutal. It just shatters any lingering hope she might have had, and probably galvanizes her to make a change.
Exactly. It solidifies her resolve. She needs to reclaim herself. She decides she has to confront Eleanor, tell her the truth.
That takes immense courage, to stop trying to fit in and just stand up for herself.
So the final confrontation happens at dinner. It's charged. Sophia just states it plainly. I can no longer pretend to be someone I'm not.
And Eleanor's reaction?
Ice cold. Doubles down on lineage, legacy, Sophia's supposed obligations.
Yep, no understanding, no compromise. Just reinforcing their completely incompatible values. Sophia's authentic self versus Eleanor's rigid hierarchy.
Sophia pushes back, says she married for love, not status, and she refuses to be manipulated anymore.
Good for her.
And then there's this heartbreaking detail where she pulls away from Lucas's touch. It just shows how much damage has been done.
Yeah, that physical withdrawal speaks volumes about the emotional distance. His inaction, his mother's interference, it broke something fundamental.
Eleanor gets the last word, or tries to, a really venomous comment. You're nothing without us.
A final attempt to diminish her.
Sophia's reply is just perfect, powerful, liberating. She says, I am something. I am Sophia, and that's enough.
Wow. Yes, that's it, isn't it? A complete rejection of their definition of her worth. An affirmation of her own inherent value, independence.
And with that, she leaves, walks out of the house, chooses herself over trying to fit into that toxic environment.
A decisive act of self-preservation.
The story ends briefly mentioning her new life. Simpler. No contact with Lucas or Eleanor. But the focus is on her regaining her sense of self. A quiet victory.
It really underscores that peace comes from living authentically, aligned with your own values, even if it means making hard choices and letting go of relationships that are damaging.
So looking back at this whole intense journey, what are the main takeaways for you?
Well, it's a stark illustration of how destructive these rigid social hierarchies can be. The pressure to conform can be immense, especially when your own identity is at stake.
Yeah, the cost of fitting in can be losing yourself entirely.
Exactly. And Sophia's story really highlights that true self-worth has to come from within. Trying to get it from external validation, particularly in toxic situations like that one, it's just futile and self-destructive. often.
It really emphasizes the need for self-acceptance.
Definitely. And it shows the courage required to prioritize your own well-being, your own authenticity, over that perceived security of belonging to a group that demands you fundamentally change who you are.
Sophia's journey is a powerful reminder that true belonging isn't about finding a group that accepts a version of you.
Right. It's about accepting yourself, valuing yourself, regardless of external approval or conditions.
This deep dive, it really makes you
Yeah.
think, doesn't it? For you listening, have you ever felt that pressure?
Yeah.
That need to change yourself to fit in somewhere or meet someone else's expectations?
Yeah, what did you learn from that? It's worth considering, especially given all the societal pressures around status and acceptance that still exist. How do we define belonging for ourselves?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into Sophia's really powerful story. We hope it gave you some food for thought.
And maybe encourages some reflection on the parts of her experience that resonated most with you.
Until our next deep dive.